When my wife Lisa suggested spending our vacation with her parents, I should have immediately suspected something was wrong. But no, like an idiot, I agreed. It'll be fun, she said. We haven't spent time together in a long time, she added. Yeah, right. We rented a small cottage in the mountains near a lake. The place was indeed beautiful, no argument there. But the beauty of nature paled in comparison to the passions that were flaring up in our friendly little family. Mike, can you at least not bury yourself in your laptop while on vacation? Lisa asked irritably on the very first evening. I sighed. Honey, you know I have an important project. I promised my boss. Yes, of course, she interrupted me. Your work is always more important than family. I wanted to object, but then my mother-in-law, Barbara, intervened in the conversation. Lisa, dear, don't be so hard on Mike. Men just don't know how to relax. She winked at me, and I felt a chill run down my spine. There was something in her look that I didn't like. My father-in-law, George, grunted from his armchair. Barbara, don't meddle in things that aren't your business. Let them sort it out themselves. Oh, George, you're always like this. Barbara threw up her hands. No sympathy for the young ones. I looked at Lisa, hoping to find support, but she just rolled her eyes and left the room. Great, some vacation this turned out to be. The next morning, I woke up early and decided to go for a run. Maybe fresh air would help me deal with the stress. When I returned, Barbara was preparing breakfast in the kitchen. Oh, Mike, darling, she purred. How was your run? Fine, I mumbled, heading to the fridge for some water. She said, coming too close to me, you look so tense. You need to relax. I almost choked on my water. Yes, probably. I'll go take a shower. Running out of the kitchen, I bumped into Lisa. What happened? She asked, looking at my red face. Nothing, I quickly replied. Just, it's hot outside. Lisa frowned but didn't say anything. The day passed relatively calmly. We walked around the lake, had a barbecue, played board games. But I couldn't shake the feeling that Barbara was constantly watching me. Several times I caught her strange glances, which made me uncomfortable. In the evening, when everyone had gone to their rooms, Lisa turned to me. Mike, what's going on? You've been jumpy all day. I sighed. Sorry, honey. I guess I'm just tired. You know what? I'll go to the sauna in the morning. Maybe that will help me relax. Lisa smiled. Great idea. Maybe I'll join you later. I nodded, feeling relieved. Maybe everything's not so bad, and this vacation can still be saved. If only I had known what awaited me tomorrow in that damn sauna. The morning was cloudy. I woke up before everyone else and quietly slipped out of the bedroom, trying not to wake Lisa. The sauna was in a separate small house not far from our cottage. I went inside, enjoying the silence and peace. Finally, I could be alone, without these constant family squabbles. I undressed, wrapped a towel around my waist, and entered the steam room. The heat enveloped me, and I felt the tension of the past few days starting to recede. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Maybe this vacation wasn't such a bad idea after all. Suddenly, the sauna door opened. I opened my eyes and nearly fell off the bench. In the doorway stood Barbara, my mother-in-law, wearing only a bathrobe. "Oh, Mike!" she exclaimed with feigned surprise. "I didn't know you were here." I tried to cover myself with the towel, feeling myself blushing. "Barbara, I was just leaving." "Don't be silly," she said, closing the door. "There's room for two." Before I could say anything, she started untying her robe. "What are you doing?" I exclaimed, turning away. "Relax, Mike," Barbara laughed. "We're family. Nothing to be shy about." I heard the robe fall to the floor and felt Barbara sit next to me, too close. She said, putting her hand on my shoulder, "I always thought Lisa was lucky to have such a husband." I jumped up, nearly slipping on the wet floor. "Barbara, this is wrong. I'm going." I rushed to the door, but when I tried to open it, I realized with horror that it wouldn't budge. "What the hell?" I mumbled, pulling on the handle. "Oh no," Barbara said, coming up behind me. "It seems the door is stuck. Let me try." She pressed against me, trying to reach the handle. I could feel her hot breath on my neck and was panicking more and more. "Barbara, please," I begged. "Let's just wait until someone comes and opens the door from the outside." "Good idea," she purred. "And while we wait, maybe we can talk?" I leaned against the door, feeling sweat running down my back. And it wasn't just because of the heat in the sauna. "About what?" I asked, trying to keep my distance from her. "About us," Barbara replied, approaching me again. "About how you look at me when you think no one's watching." I opened my mouth to object, but at that moment, voices were heard from outside, the voices of Lisa and George. "Dad, are you sure you saw Mike come here?" Lisa asked. "Yes, definitely," George replied. "And here are Barbara's slippers. She must be here too." I looked at Barbara, feeling panic overwhelming me. What to do now? I froze by the door, not knowing what to do. On one hand, I wanted to scream, call for help. On the other, how to explain this situation to Lisa and George. Barbara seemed not worried at all. She leaned against the sauna wall, looking at me with a smirk. "Well, Mike," she whispered, "how are we going to get out of this?" I was frantically thinking, maybe we just tell the truth, that the door got stuck and we accidentally ended up here together? Barbara laughed. "And you think they'll believe that? Especially considering how you look at me." "I don't look at you," I hissed, feeling myself blushing even more. Voices were heard from outside again. "The door is kind of stuck," George said. "I'll try to open it now." I heard him pulling on the handle. The door gave way slightly but didn't open fully. "Mike, Mom, are you there?" Lisa called. I opened my mouth to answer, but Barbara beat me to it. "Yes, sweetie. We're stuck here. The door won't open for some reason." "Oh my God!" Lisa exclaimed. "Are you okay?" "Oh yes," Barbara purred, looking straight at me. "More than okay. Right, Mike?" I felt nausea rising in my throat. "Yes, everything's fine. It's just very hot." "We'll get you out now," George said. "Need to find something to open the door." We heard receding footsteps. I turned to Barbara. "Listen, let's just wait until they get us out and forget about this misunderstanding." Barbara shook her head. "Oh, Mike, you're so naive. You think it's that simple? What about our attraction to each other?" "What attraction?" I was shocked. "Are you crazy?" "Don't deny the obvious," she said, coming closer to me. "I see how you look at me, how you get nervous around me." I backed away, my back against the hot sauna wall. "This isn't what you think. I love Lisa. You're her mother, for God's sake." Barbara smirked. "And doesn't that make the situation even more piquant?" I couldn't believe my ears. What's happening? How did I end up in this insane situation? Footsteps and voices of Lisa and George were heard from outside again. "We found tools!" Lisa shouted. "We'll open the door now." I looked at Barbara with pleading eyes. "Please, let's just end this. I won't tell Lisa anything about your behavior. Let's just pretend nothing happened." Barbara thought for a moment, and then her face lit up with a cunning smile. "Okay, Mike, but on one condition." I swallowed. "What condition?" "You have to kiss me right now." I stared at her, not believing my ears. Outside, I could hear George trying to open the door. I had only seconds left to make a decision. What should I do? Give in to Barbara's blackmail or risk everything by telling the truth? Time seemed to stop. I looked at Barbara, feeling my heart ready to jump out of my chest. Outside, George continued to fiddle with the door, and I knew I had only a few seconds left to decide. "Come on, Mike," Barbara whispered, coming closer to me. "One little kiss and all this will be over." I took a deep breath and resolutely shook my head. "No, Barbara, I won't do it. It's wrong." Her eyes narrowed. "You'll regret this, Mike. I can make your life hell." At that moment, the door finally gave way and started to open. I jumped away from Barbara, trying to look as innocent as possible. "Mike! Mom!" Lisa exclaimed, bursting into the sauna. "Are you okay?" I nodded, trying not to look at Barbara. "Yes, everything's fine, just it was hot." George entered next, looking at us suspiciously. "What's going on here?" Barbara suddenly burst into tears, throwing herself at Lisa. "Oh, darling, it was terrible! Mike, I felt my blood run cold. What is she going to say? Lisa looked from me to her mother. What did Mike do?" Barbara sobbed. He was so kind to me, supported me when I started panicking because of the heat and confined space." I stared at her, not believing my ears. "What game is she playing?" Lisa hugged her mother. "Oh, Mom, it's okay. You're both safe now." George was still looking at me suspiciously. And that's all that happened. I opened my mouth to answer, but Barbara beat me to it. "Oh, George, don't be such a paranoid. Mike behaved like a true gentleman." She winked at me, and I felt a chill run down my spine. This isn't over yet, I realized. We left the sauna, and I could finally breathe freely. But my joy was short-lived. "You know, Lisa," Barbara said as we were returning to the house, "Mike and I need to talk privately. I have ideas about his career." Lisa smiled. "Of course, Mom, how nice of you." I looked at Barbara, and she returned a triumphant gaze. I realized that my trials were far from over. In the evening, as we sat by the fireplace, Barbara couldn't take her eyes off me. She constantly made ambiguous remarks that made me uncomfortable. Mike is so strong, she said, stroking my arm. You're lucky, Lisa. I saw George frowning, watching this scene. Lisa seemed to notice nothing, but I felt the situation heating up with each passing minute. When we finally went to our rooms, I thought I could relax, but no such luck. Mike, Lisa said, closing the door of our bedroom, we need to talk. I felt my heart sink. Did she suspect something? About what, dear? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. Lisa sat on the bed, looking at me seriously. About what's going on between you and my mom. I froze, not knowing what to say. How could I explain all this without destroying our family? Lisa, I began, but she raised her hand, stopping me. No, Mike, let me finish, she said firmly. I see how Mom looks at you, how she touches you, and I see how you get nervous around her. I felt cold sweat breaking out on my forehead. This is it, the moment of truth. Lisa, it's not what you think, I started, but she interrupted me again. I know, Mike. I know my mother is trying to seduce you. I stared at her, not believing my ears. You know? Lisa nodded, and tears glistened in her eyes. She's always done this, with every boyfriend of mine, with every husband of mine. This is her way of controlling my life. I sat down next to her, not knowing what to say. Lisa continued, I hoped it would be different with you, that she would finally leave me alone. But I see I was wrong. Lisa, I swear nothing happened, I said, taking her hand. I love you, only you. She smiled weakly. I know, Mike, I believe you, but we have to do something. I can't live like this anymore. At that moment, we heard a scream from the next room. It was Barbara's voice. George, how can you say such a thing? Lisa and I looked at each other and rushed to the door. In the hallway, we ran into George, who was coming out of his room, red with anger. What's going on? Lisa asked. George looked at me with fury. Ask your husband. Barbara just confessed to me that he was harassing her in the sauna. What? Lisa and I exclaimed simultaneously. At that moment, Barbara came out of the room, theatrically wiping away tears. Oh, Lisa, dear, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to tell you, but Mike, I couldn't take it anymore. Enough of this lie. Everyone stared at me. I took a deep breath and started speaking. Barbara, it was you who harassed me. You tried to seduce me, blackmail me, and I know you've done this before with Lisa's other husbands. Silence fell. Barbara turned pale. George's mouth fell open in surprise. Lisa squeezed my hand tightly. Is this true, Mom? She asked quietly. Barbara started mumbling something, but Lisa stopped her. No more lies. I know it's true. I've always known, but I was afraid to admit it. She turned to her father. Dad, Mom has been doing this for years. She's been destroying my relationships, my life, and you've always turned a blind eye to it. George looked lost. I didn't know. Barbara suddenly burst into tears. You're all against me. I just wanted to protect you, Lisa. These men... No, Mom, Lisa said firmly. This isn't protection, it's control, and it's over. She turned to me and her father. We're leaving. Right now. This vacation is over. The next hour passed in chaos of packing and shouting. Barbara alternated between crying, threatening, and begging. George was silent, looking completely broken. When Lisa and I got into the car, I felt incredible relief. Lisa started the engine and turned to me. Thank you for not giving in to her. Thank you for telling the truth. I took her hand. I love you, Lisa, and I'll never betray you. We drove onto the road, leaving behind the house, Barbara's screams, and years of manipulation and lies. A new chapter of our life awaited us ahead, a chapter without toxic relationships and family secrets. I didn't know what awaited us, but one thing I knew for sure. Together we'd handle anything, and I'll be avoiding saunas from now on, just in case. Did you like this story? Let us know in the comments what you liked. Subscribe to our storytelling podcast. Also, don't forget to like and ring the bell so you don't miss more interesting stories. See you soon.